clients, when I start working with them, are scared of carbs. They are restricting carbs. They are not allowing themselves to eat carbs. And you might feel the same. You might be doing the same. So I want to set the story straight. Are carbs really that bad? The first thing that I want to say is that there are 3 macronutrients: carbs, fat, and protein. We need all 3. All 3 of those macronutrients are important to us. And you know, protein's been made a big deal of these days. Protein is not more important than any of the other 2 macronutrients. We need all of them. Well, we need them in balance as well. The second thing is that not all carbs are born equal, meaning there are unrefined carbohydrates and there are refined carbohydrates. These could almost be put into 2 separate categories in terms of the benefits and the good that they do to our body. So refined carbohydrates are things like white sliced bread, sugary foods, donuts, breadsticks, things like that. Refined carbohydrates contain little fiber and little nutrition. They're not what we want to be making the majority of our meals from. But of course, we're going to eat them because they're delicious. And of course, having some, a little bit, is not a problem at all, because the moment that we make something forbidden, the moment we make something illicit, is the moment that it becomes just all that more delicious and tempting and desirable. So we're never saying that we can't have a certain food. We're just not making it our, the main bit of our meal. Unrefined carbohydrates, on the other hand, fruits, veggies, whole grains, which are things like oats and quinoa, these foods are full of fiber, and fiber is what our microbiome really needs in order to be healthy. And our microbiome is what determines how healthy the entirety of our body is. We want to feed these guys. We want to feed our microbiome what they want. And what they want is fiber. What they want is as many different varieties of plant-based fiber that they can get their hands on. All plants contain fiber. So any type of plant that you're eating, and it will likely be a carbohydrate if it's a plant, any kind that you can eat is going to benefit your microbiome, which is going to benefit your entire body. So unrefined carbs are the opposite of evil. They are so necessary and so important for our bodies. They also give us energy. So yes, you may have experienced having like a carb overload where you've had too much of a good thing. You've had like a big bowl of pasta and now you're feeling exhausted, or even you've had porridge and you haven't balanced that porridge. Instead, you've put honey on it or some fruit on it. And that for me is never going to work as a good breakfast. That would immediately make me feel like a little bit dizzy, a little bit lightheaded, not grounded. Like if I was going to have porridge for breakfast, I need to add those other 2 macronutrients into it to make sure that I'm getting the benefits of those unrefined carbohydrates, because otherwise it's too much sugar for my system. So that leads me to another point, which is that we have different metabolic types, and some types, there's protein type, there's carb type, and there's mixed type. And some people do really well on a high carb diet. Personally, that's not me. But some people, do really well, and some people do not so well on a high carb diet. And that is determined by yourself. That is determined by you experimenting. Just like I used that analogy before, if I had porridge for breakfast, which I don't very often, but say I fancied it, I would definitely combine fat and protein into that porridge, because I know my body, and I know that even though oats are, great, they're full of fiber, they're full of B vitamins, they've got, goodness in them, and they've got that slow releasing energy. Still, I know that that's not going to set me up on the right foot. Now, for somebody else, having a bowl of porridge for breakfast is going to feel amazing in their body, because maybe their metabolic type is better suited to being higher carb. So you need to experiment for yourself and find what's right for you. And that's what I really encourage my clients to do. We're all individual, and one diet does not work for everyone. In fact, the opposite is true. So, it's not that what the nutrition industry is sharing with us about carbohydrates is all wrong. It's not all wrong. There's some truth to it, but it doesn't tend to be very nuanced. It tends to be super black and white, and it tends to put everyone in the same category, and it's just not true. I know for me, like, I need to have some carbohydrates in my meals because otherwise I also feel really tired. So if I'm not having some carbs, it makes me feel really tired. If I have too high carbs, it makes me feel really tired. So I know for me what that middle ground feels like. I know for me what I need to, aim for my plate to look like in order for me to have good energy and sustained energy for the rest of the day. So that's what I really encourage you to do, is just like practice and experiment for yourself. Don't believe what any Instagram guru or diet book or anyone else is telling you. Feel for your body what works for you. But let's set the record straight. Carbs are not evil. Refined carbs should be a smaller part of our total food intake for sure. Unrefined carbohydrates definitely need to be on your plate always, and the quantity is going to depend on how you feel your body does, how your body does with carbs. So I hope that goes to answer and alleviate some of that guilt. Carbs are not evil. You definitely can eat them. You definitely should eat certain types of them. And you should also eat the types that are not so beneficial for our body because they are delicious and, in moderate amounts, they're not going to do you any harm.